So going back to part 2, okay, if I would see a snapshot of that Peter that came out, that was wondering why do women go with the men that mistreat them when everybody knows why, especially when there is MK Ultra and there are nudges, and she could be afraid and frozen that if she doesn't go, there's something happen. You wouldn't see that because it's mind control. Okay, so that's a snapshot. But when you know that was the guy that in his young 20s tended to, why did the Supreme Court put the wrong guy for murder in jail? It's not for murder, it's for snuff films. Okay? So that was Peter. And then they twist it around in the way that he has to vouch for Deming. And if he ever want that to change, somebody has to be a lawyer. And then that lawyer, they catch him for, what was it, taxes? I don't even remember. They didn't let him respond. And then they put out the conversation of Peter, Royce, and Kassem, was it? I don't remember. Maybe they took it down. I don't know. But when Peter is I think it was 2 years gone over taxes. Let's talk about the 1100. The 1100 is not Rute. Entire Tweede Kamer did not do impeachment. That the 1100 Teflon is not true, is not Rute. Let's talk about Rudy Verstegen. How many assassins by now? 40, 50, 70? Gotta eat Marinito trying to shapeshift into her channel on X. I would think Itamar Yaron would let it slide when I didn't mention his name. Those children are kidnapped to that filmography, yes. And he very likely was these children. So were these Supreme Court judges, very likely. I don't know what Peter knew, what Peter didn't know. Okay, what footage is of him, I don't know. But one thing I do know, that if he spoke against the WHO, he did it for a reason. Okay? One Deming is not, taking down one Deming is not going to take down the WHO. It's going to rejuvenate the people that do that. And that's a reminder, because I overstepped Delano because Delano was the guy with the gun. But you have to think about the guy with the gun. Okay? And you have to think about the fact that the people that do that, they try to trade their time for that, other than being, I don't know, threatened to death or whatnot, and that being presented as he did it for the money. You know, one thing I found out, people are way less greedy than we think. But that's what they try to do to Royce, because if they get him on taxation, now he needs money, right? Was it in relation to him defending a pedo? Was it not? I don't know. But it was definitely not the only one, because Tachi did not find a lawyer office that did not represent sex offenders, which is a conflict of interest structurally in criminal law in the Netherlands, and perhaps not only. Okay, can you imagine somebody going to sue a pharmaceutical company, and the company that represents the pharmaceutical company represents those who do class lawsuits against the pharmaceutical company? Okay, and there isn't any office that doesn't do that. Okay, that's the equivalent. Now back to petertje Ort. Who could litigate the murderer? Well, by the time Peter will have a lawyer's son, and it ain't for now. I tell you, the first thing I saw when I heard his son is a lawyer was like, hey, do you, and I don't even remember when, because I was overwhelmed later myself and tortured, but I said, well, is there a class lawsuit against the WHO? That's the first thing I did, because what I saw in Netherlands, okay, I understood that the organized crime is working with the police, so it's working with the government, and the government is working with the WHO. And I had no idea about the 1100. It's like, I knew there was some scandal with some taxes for childcare. I didn't know how far it went. If they take children for taxes, okay, they try to put Royce in jail so that he would want to trade his time, okay? So that, God forbid, he wouldn't blow up the system the way Peter did. And then when you know, when it Tefloned up, when it Tefloned away, or I don't know what went on with that, because you have to understand, the media doesn't, the media, when the media cancels somebody, who owns the media? Right? Then he didn't get, he was shadow banned on X, I remember. And the thing is, because those things are so intricate and everybody's born to a death cam, so the first visible shot you would get of the person, immediately they try to say, well, the Me Too went too far with it. This went too far. It's the other direction. It's the voices of the people, the testimony of Lars, the people, that the satanic ritual abuse survivors, the people that begin to untangle the dumb fuckery. That's the thing that releases that. Otherwise, you come off, I don't need, you're understanding media more than me. I don't need to tell you. Okay? It's not just about looking good. You got that one right, but it's also, and it's not just putting women next to you, it's its essence. Okay? Like, if I understand that there's this thing because they grow up in a death camp and they have to torture each other. And to get to the top of the pyramid, to knock the pyramid down, you need to get to the top of the pyramid. That's MK33. That's what Peter was. He was supposed to be a centaurian. That's why he said, when Peter said to his son, I promise you I'm going to live to 100. You see, that was not just, how would I say it? It's not that he was most reliable person on earth in terms of monogamy or something, but he was honest. So it genuinely intended to cut that deal so that that will happen. But then what that deal entailed was something that he understood. He would have to zombify the entire family because this WHO is MK Ultra. And that means people being snuffed, tortured, zombified on a grand scale. When we begin, well, the Me Too went too far, when the this went too far, well, the pedophiles should be, it's humane to give them a chance to go back to society. Yeah, but it won't prevent the zombification. And it definitely won't, think about yourself as a father and a family member and a husband. That's the highway to something that entails something that if you're in any way like your father, and you're a lot like your father, you're you know. Okay. And then there's the fact that anybody that did the JFK was assassinated and so on. Um, Litigation to abolish slavery would be appropriate to initiate when Saturn is sextiling Uranus. So we're talking about, I think, as of a couple of months from now, okay? Especially, I want Uranus, I will think of an election because I want Uranus on Beta Persei. And I think Uranus direct would be appropriate. So litigation to abolish slavery, that means that you can't be enslaved with debt or with taxes or with tax evasion. It's taxes, okay? It's the government that's supposed to decide what to do with the money, okay? And if you have to do something criminal with the money, and that's why you do tax evasion, you're going to have to ask, where was the government? Why wasn't there housing first? Why was the government? Why didn't they believe your testimony? Maybe there's something with the government, like in MK Ultra. Or the crown, for every crown. I said, for royal bloodlines to not be rejuvenated right now, it is, it's an old teaching. It doesn't matter how many sun rituals are done. That's just the way it works. Israel has to be more worried about that than Netherlands right now. But that snuff thing, it was another attempt. And when I wake up to the Ascendant 22, Scorpio, which is my Mars and Peter's sun, I said that began as the Ascendant was applying to that 22, was applying. And that had to do with, again, attempts to frame a certain thing. Now that's the question. will that create a culture where we no longer have these snuff films? And if not, what would? I'm asking myself for this exact same question. It's a structural question. It's a cult question. We talk about young fathers, young mothers with children that don't want their child not just for to go to the army, not to go to the army. Everybody talks about going to the army. Nein, meine Söhne gebe ich nicht. We need something like that for satanic ritual abuse. Then you would get the ears of the leaders that sent your children to the war, because they were these children. Okay. Before I went to sleep, I was remote viewing. I wasn't remote viewing. I received somebody else who was remote viewing and showing me something. And there is a hidden bunker for NATO. I don't remember where it is. In Maastricht. In Maastricht. There's a hidden bunker for NATO. This is on YouTube. Okay, you can see this on YouTube. But I was showing that it looked like an old door, and it's kind of like an old new door. And then I was shown something like a pig or something like that. You'd like to put money in the pig, give it the pig. And then that pig was a priest. Okay. And and I went to sleep. And the injustice had to do around the snuff film. Now, what you need to understand, structurally, why is my okay, let's put it that way. Why is my channel so humble? I seem to have a lot of information, right? I was targeted at the academic institution and I didn't finish my second degree. Okay? I learned aromatherapy, astrological magic, okay? And it's not a growing business. Why? Okay? Does it really seem like I don't have the capacity to, or the competence intellectually, artistically? Okay, so I don't know how to put on makeup, and it's maybe I do know, and I'm just exhausted from that dumb fuckery. Everything is MK Ultra. You want to buy makeup, is MK Ultra. You want to set with the makeup artist, is MK Ultra, and you need a meeting, which is right now impossible. Okay, so is that a question of competence, or is that of questions of deals that I don't make to do perhaps with snuff films. Why did they cancel Royce? Maybe there's some deals that he didn't make. Now you would be shown what deals he did make, okay? What deals Casa made. Were you not shown what deals he didn't make? And you better be damn well sure that any cancellation has to do with a deal somebody didn't make with the devil. Who else is canceled nowadays? Ask yourself this question. Those are important questions. Now, what happens to people that don't make deals? Legislation to do with abolishing from slavery is compatible around Saturn sextiling Uranus when Uranus is on Beta Persei. And that has to do with social credit score. We're no longer talking banking system. We're talking digital currency. Okay. And that Edo can't come to me, alluding with the pig to Mark Rutte, okay, kind of like the priest that goes to the bunker in Maastricht, without talking about the fact that when I go to sleep, I get attempts to put me in a snuff film for not wanting to be sexpionage. There are several systems of currency competing, okay? It's not one. We talk about global, people make it seem like there is a consensus. There isn't. The cult is of betrayal. This is why I said for the Delano guy, bringing back to the Ido Delano, okay, the Polish guy, you're not going to get the money. And you're also not going to get less time. And you're also not going to get not done. But what you're going to get is something that, think about what you do. If I think about who does what I do better than me, I'm like, well, the Royce Kellys are going to be 40 in a couple of years. Okay? Like if I ask myself, why am I alive? I'm like, I don't know, maybe to see that, maybe to see them starting to speak, starting to peter around. Okay? Who does what I do better than me? What the younger generation, right? They have more information, they build on this, they build on that, they evolve into the willing consent deacon. I evolved to knowing that we have enough, deacon. Okay, so one part of knowing we have enough is the fact that all these people out there that we think have a consensus, that don't have a consensus, and it's a betrayal cult anyway. People think they're scaring Elon Musk. I'm watching Elizabeth April viewing Elon Musk, and she had his energy when she was speaking. She had occasionally his energy. It was really lovely to see. And she says he's the first soul here on Earth, and quite interesting stuff. But one thing I also saw, it's not that I remote viewed Elon Musk, is I think Elon Musk remote viewed me. And you can't invade without being invaded. And so, and I feel like a computer program. Driving the train was like a computer program. I felt that with the voice energy of it as well. Maybe they got chips, I don't know. Because you do all kind of things like to enhance your consciousness and so on. And essentially what Elon Musk, he was like, he liked the apartment. Elon, when I was homeless, I turned to your business and said, well, would I get a small house? Okay, I could broadcast like from YouTube or something like that. And I don't know, maybe we can sublet, I don't know, but be careful. There's a makler that he wants to, yes. So I know he's newlywed right now. I don't know. And then to walk on the mountains and to watch the stars, and he saw the mountains like boobs. That's it. That's what I got from Elon Musk. He likes, and then when I think my mother said, he said, I heard about this billionaire Elon Musk. They say he likes the simple life and this and that, and I say I have to affirm. You don't scare Elon Musk with taxation. It's what you do with the taxes and how they compound. When I was, after the Me Too, which is basically MK Ultra, I was sitting in with the neighbors. I was learning aromatherapy because I liked that. And I was like, I'm retired. I'm retired. After that Itamar Yaron, for the following, I would run into that Ido Nevo, okay, which now I get, it's way more than what I ever imagined that guy's involved with. No, don't try to put injustice on me. It backfires. Ruth already knows. I'm the one who sweetens the verdict, okay? That's the thing. Then he tries to frame Ruth like I don't know that he's on the money. He's on the money, beseder. But there are a couple of competing currencies when it comes to that. What can I say? You know what? I will say that. Royce, I'm sorry if it's sexually harassing, but it goes all the way there. When I was working with that Ido, he made a sex joke about the movie, and there was a guy that had a dick made from gold. Okay. And then there was another sex joke. This scene was actually funny, that somebody speaking with a man like sexual things, and then she's just doing the dishes. So I don't know, maybe he was trying to tell us what he liked. I have no idea. When I got the nudge to talk to Royce, I heard for Ido say, I'm sorry, this is a dick made of gold. And I'm like, well, try to fuck him if you want, but the thing is, I better bet you gotta do will and consent, okay? Oh my god. I said what I said. With all this dumb fuckery, you get so shadow banned, you have nobody to talk to, then you're just like, okay, let's say something to Elon Musk. He's the owner of the place, right? So who do I talk to about this shadow banning? You're the guy that owns the place, right? Um, and then, turn to political assassination, turn to Reuters, like, are we going to do something about the WHO? Maybe he answered me and I didn't see that. I don't know. I was so overwhelmed emotionally from everything that I've been through. And, and then for, Vachir was running, and I was like, well, self-sustainability, to grow my own crops and so on. Then I begin to move the soil around. And I had no idea that guy was like 24/7 jail. Because my opening line was like, he was talking about 6 Juli, there was supposed, 6 June was supposed to be elections or something like that. I was talking about something, he was thanking the police. He has to thank the police all the time. Like, well, on 6, I wanted to say 6 Juli, but I said, 6 June, the police was not working that well. Okay, and then you look at the chart for Ruta, so you see Teflon omens. And I did not know he was called Teflon. So yeah, I got to at least energetically or telepathically interact with people that, let's say, and then there's Donald Trump, okay? For the people that, like, let's say, they're not really living on outcaring, okay? But the thing is, what I said, with what I do in life, what I'm building on is a canoe. Because they changing up the currencies. What I told Elon, they changing up the currency. And he's like a JP Morgan. Elizabeth April, what she said, I was very relating to that. Because I think he's a type of a JP Morgan. With Pluto in Aquarius, JP Morgan was born with Pluto in Aquarius. But I think he's doing a JP Morgan. And I think he has good chances. But I don't know who will be with that. But that there's a lot of battles to that. And I say will and consent wins the race, because all the currencies, even X.com was launched on a Venu. I think it was a Venuranus on Beta per se. And I told Elon, this shadow band's going to backfire. So, because that's the snake goddess. So the inverted version of the cult, they're doing that with ritual sacrifice, but actually it's like grow some hibiscus or something. It's the other way around. Like, if she doesn't need that, but she went, the Medusa Goronja, she went through rape, wasn't believed, her hair was turned into snakes, and then she was murdered, and her talisman was used to deter everything. So as a talisman, she's used to deter all the things that she creates as on a mundane, okay? But the talisman, you don't do ritual sacrifice to, but actually, whenever someone's on Beta per se, if I go with the Christopher Warnock approach, whenever someone's on Beta per se, you can call a reverence to Beta per se, you can act in favor of people who are silenced, for being victims of sexual boundary violations. So even if you defend an offender, you would want to defend for the victim, and remember that they were victim, and in front of you sits now a victim that you don't want to turn into perpetrator, okay? That would be more like the road to go there. And for any psychiatric tagging of people, they got Emily Harper to talk about kleptomania, because I gave a shout out to Emily Harper. Really. And I said that when they did the dumb fucker with my mom, they wrote the kleptomania instead of a claustrophobia. And I had to backfire at Emily. I was like, hey, just like, there are homeless concentration camps in your city that people have to escape, and they would need to steal the essentials. Is that a good timing to talk about it? Should we talk about claustrophobia and agoraphobia towards 2030? she escaped. Very likely she had to steal some stuff before that. So it's not about that, I guess. But if she's threatened or something, then vouch for Emily Harper. And the short went, don't befriend kleptos. Okay, so that means that if a person runs out of a concentration camp, and where she is, she's in LA or something, then, and they steal essentials, okay, then don't befriend them. If I did not befriend, was not befriend, if I would not have conversation, what is befriend? If I was not amiable to the woman that was next to me, that she had a couple of cell phones in her pocket, so I had to mind my stuff. I had to guard, which I hate. It's annoying. Okay. But if we did not exchange a couple of words, and her opening sentence to me was like, don't talk to me about your problems. Everybody talks to me about their problems. And that was very genuine. She was everybody's rock, and then the rock disintegrated. That's why she was doing cocaine, okay? And she had to be sex worker for cocaine. Now you know that it's not just it's not just a blowjob. But I didn't know about, sex espionage and all that dumb fuckery. And then, of course, for every time she would need the money for drugs, which I didn't have. And I saw how when she saw her try to quit, and I didn't understand why everything was working against her to quit that thing. But the reason is that if she would quit the drugs, she would begin to remember just for the sex espionage that she maybe had to do for the drugs. As someone who worked in the security of the red light district, that they want to put in a sex scrapper 9/11 on that. So to have a ghetto, okay, that's a ghetto. And then they would put people like Emily Harper that got out of a religious ghetto that looks like a paradise. Okay, so it's absolutely not bashing of Emily Harper. I love her content. She's a great makeup artist. Her trauma dump videos are fantastic. And I'm sure that, one person gives a shout out to a person. So there I am, like, I'm not leaving her back to fall, but I'm saying vouch for Emily Harper. Why? Because I gave a shout out to her channel. Okay? Because I appreciate another artist absolving from religious trauma and doing something good. Of course, that would be framed as bashing, because I see perspective that she doesn't have on her own journey. And then what they would do, they would get her to say, don't befriend kleptos, because I was talking about the people writing instead of claustrophobia, which they can't medicate. And medication doesn't work either for schizophrenia. It's about believing the patient. Like Emily Harper is not schizophrenic. She's been through religious trauma from a school that was a prison cell experiment on her, and at the same time it was looking like a freaking paradise. Did she not have to steal things on her way out? Did she not have? Of course she probably had to steal some stuff, some food, some clothes, some makeup, very likely. Okay, and maybe that was caught on camera and told her, oh, you got to do that video now, because otherwise we're going to expose you that you did that and that thing. And saying kleptomania is a disorder, is it this, is it that? No. Yes, of course, there's some people that have a kleptomania. That's MK Ultra, very likely. That's not just for them. That's okay. But right now we are in a situation where people escape ghettos and they need to steal the things that they need. So it's not just the food. Sometimes it's warm clothes. Okay. Sometimes it's clothes in general. Sometimes It's a cleaning product, okay? And then what they would do, they would frame her and say, remember that short you had about the don't befriend kleptos? Now they would put her in a situation where she has to steal. So please, albeit this short, if you see her in need, if you see her stealing, if you see her whatnot, don't listen to her advice and vouch for her because she's escaping MK Ultra. And that's sex espionage, that's sex trafficking, that's human trafficking. And she tries to warn the people against what she's been through in a religious school. And it's only given stage because she talks about the pill that she's taking or something that I wouldn't be surprised if that's a sugar pill placebo and you don't know that. But or that's something that's actually working. We don't know about it. It's marketed as another brand of pill. That's because you lost a sister to that psychiatry and so on. So, and she said some people have a side effect and so on. And I think it's, but do these people that have the side effect and so on, are these people allowed to live? Okay, so going back to the shelter and that woman that was doing cocaine, because they didn't let her recover from addiction, because if she would remember what the sex espionage was for. And that's what they don't want her to remember. So they try to cut her away. Her brother was, I don't know, in some situation, and she was missing her brother. And I don't know, okay? So that is... That is why you don't have people with addiction recover, so it will preserve this. They don't want to take responsibility on their life. She could be an army commander with her discipline. It's the strongest. This is what I learned when I was at the shelter. I never had too much like prejudice about people who take drugs. I just didn't know them. Okay, it's just very put. I just said things can happen to people. I'm privileged that something will happen to me and so on. But when you run into with the person and you run into them for the not taking cocaine and for the sniff cocaine and so on, at least for my encounter, it's the strongest people that are under so much stress and receive so little support that they use medication and medication doesn't work because it's an inversion, so they use something to get high, something to forget, something to function. And if she was sex espionage and had handlers, then that means that she would be drugged and then would go into, and what she would remember is that she needs to do, I don't know, to suck somebody's dick for cocaine, okay? But she wouldn't remember for the rest. And then on cocaine, you're very happy, you're very high. That's all her, okay? And that would be what she would do, and she would work at the security of the red light district, and then she didn't have a house. And that mint essential oil helped her to smell in the nostrils. So she tried to quit again. They wouldn't even let her open the door for her to take water with sugar when his body was drying up. Then she was diagnosed with COVID and was in quarantine for 10 days. So she only did the soft drugs for a while, but then she got out and again. But now I understand they don't want these people to recover, because it's the strongest people. They've been through the most, and they don't want them to remember what they've been through. And again, going back to, okay, who does better than me what I do? Well, the younger generation, right? I expose for corruption, and I talk about the real deal. Who does it better than I do? Well, the people that both inside and outside the cult, and the younger generation, they're going to go to their Pluto square in their 40s, and that's that. But when I think about who does what this Idunavo guy does, which is framing people, unfortunately, better than he does, well, somebody would. I know that somebody is not me. And who does what Itamar Yaron does better than him? If you ask for what he does, that's the guy that tells them what snuff films to make. That's the screenwriter. And kidnaps the children. And then when somebody comes to therapy, the person that doesn't have discernment because they're dissociated from their body don't know what was their sexual fantasy or not, because they were being programmed all their life. Even from infancy, they do this from afar to people. And I recognize it. I literally recognize his artistic style. It always looks like um, it looks like a movie, but like a sketch for children. And these guys are cooperating. And there were a guy that saw this and went completely white on me. It's always nice when a person with a darker skin complexion goes white on you. That was deceived. As AMDR therapist that I went to before Itamar, and Itamar knew him. That guy was also some Mossad Shabak, I don't know, if CIA, that global intelligence stuff. I guess the Rosicrucians, okay? But that was from Scientology, I think, because EMDR is affiliated with Scientology. Um, and it was so, and I saw something like two men that I'm like stands like it was the shade of two men in front of me, and he went white on me, and he said he's like he didn't refer to that, and he said it's kind of like ignore that. He didn't explain that content. He says in EMDR we know this. Of course they know it's a part of that. It's very likely the Scientology is a part of that's another satanic church, very likely. And then they are making these movies again, and they assign roles, just like when you think about the petertje ort, okay, going back to part 1. Orange car drives from a JFK, which will be associated with Peter R. de Vries, to a Churchill, which would be associated with Geert Wilders. I think in his office in the parliament, he has a picture of Churchill. And later also Rutte. Okay. Now, naturally, everybody wants to win the war, right? And so that Itamar guy, who has been severely tortured as well, because he has like full-blown deed, okay? I came to curate my own attachment thing, and okay, so not to completely disintegrate the full-blown deed, and he has full-blown deed, okay? And I don't say it as a psychiatric tagging, it's just this MK Ultra, and this dissociations and the electrocutions are still there for him. So I could see where it was mind control. I remember I told him, you have the energy of the States, are you from the States? He said no. And they're messing with the sleep cycle. I remember when I was in my apartment and I was hearing the voice, and I didn't recognize that. He says, you slept until now. And I'm just, yeah. He says, I cannot sleep at all. So I think they're putting him through torture. They put this Itamar person through torture, and then he tortures people. And they continuously do that. He's the one in charge to kidnap children and to create these weird movies. And they're replacing him with those children. Remember what I told you tomorrow, and I said, and he made an entire thing, okay, that mind control thing where you didn't have, a way to fend for that, or you didn't know what it is. First of all, you wonder, is that psychosis? But you see that it's particularly them, and they threaten you also in the room with the verbally, they threaten your life. They says nobody knows what energy is, kind of like no one will believe you, and so on. Says you're not safe here, you're not safe anywhere. That the crispy side of the child is meant to vulnerable, puts out his sadistic sides. And then he calls when I'm at the hospital, and I have to answer the phone because I understand that he will continue to torture me if I don't, and nobody sees how. Because they created this torture, and then they can access to torture from above, because you basically, the trauma creates the extrasensory, that it's basically dissociations. We have less somatic experience, but the somatic experience is now controlled for this mind control. And instead of using remote viewers to find kidnapped and missing people, they use them to target people. That's what's happening right now. And I told him when I went away, I said, the children will speak. Okay, so he's also the children. But unfortunately, he is programmer and doing horrid things as well. And if he's mind controlling, these people are mind controlling. People like him, like Kido, there's a lot of billions of these. And they're controlling politicians, lawyers, Supreme Court judges, okay? So it's like, who is mind controlled by whom? And then they try to frame. I think that was what was done maybe to some degree to Peter as well. And now they try to do that to Ruta, like to frame here as the priest pig that sits in a bunker in Maastricht. And like, but they're all mind controlled, so you don't know the who is who here. Everybody want to know who is who right now. And it's an entire Tweede Kamer that did not do impeachment, okay? So he was no more or less a programmer than any of them, in the sense that I'm not talking about competence, okay? I'm talking about the fact that it's not like that they weren't trained for the way that he was, you know what I mean? So structurally, I think it's a lot more decentralized than we think under the hidden pyramid. Anyway, that was my morning. Sun is beginning to shine right now. And that was what I woke up with. 7th of October was a series of snuff films. And very likely 75 years in Gaza as well. There's a lot that we don't know, right? But also trainings, espionages within Israel that we don't know about. And everybody wants to work with Shabak or Mossad. When I studied politics and governance, I was like, oh, well, let's study something with, I don't know, international relations. It's like continuing to travel. I was not. But I had no idea what's diplomacy, what's that. Um, and of course, my family, at least my mom, she had no idea of these things, okay? She's exo-called, so she just thought these school jobs, I don't know, of diplomats and this. They say, but it's all espionage. Okay, well, espionage is for security, right? No, that's not what it's at. But for a lot of people, they think that they go to study like Middle Eastern studies, and people are joking at them that they're looking for to work in the Mossad, but no, they are already recruited, okay? At 5 a.m. in the morning and you can't sleep and you have sensitivity to noises and somebody's like, don't say what I say, forget about that, what I said, and they heavily drink. Children, 20s. That's why they drink. And they can't take weed because it can't, okay? Mm-hmm. But let's end up with a nice thing. Remember when I told you about the person I was speaking with in OkCupid? I thought he was Slavic, then apparently he's from Syria. He was a refugee in Europe. And I was consulting my friend, and she said to me, well, if he doesn't post anything against Israel, it's no problem. Then I saw that he posted Israel with the Nazi flag, and then I was like, I had to say goodbye to him. Because and he was too controlling, like I wasn't going to, and he wasn't willing to talk about that, so like I'm not going to cooperate with that. And he wanted to work in the Mossad. I'm not joking. He wanted to work for Israel. He was applying for Israeli intelligence. That's what he told me. He presented himself as a Syrian guy. Okay. That was just me going to OkCupid. I thought the guy was Slavic. I don't know. Oh. And I wasn't even trying to date. I was trying to get to know people from around the world. And that's how you could do that. That was the thing. But that was the story. Okay, if he doesn't post anything about Israel, if he doesn't have, you look at his profile and he has Israel with the Nazi flag. And I'm like, okay, I got it. And I remember I asked him once, tell me, let's say they wipe Israel out the planet. Looking at Israel chart, I don't think we want to do that. We want to do something different, which is to reinvert the inversion, because Israel is a meat heaven procyon and descendant speaker. Okay? Procyon is about denuclearification. taking the procyon out of the equation is a nuclear holocaust. You can't do it without denuclearification, okay, if you want to change for the political entity here. But the thing is, astrological considerations for declarations of independence, okay? You don't get the next so-called, why would I write for Elon about that they plan for that Beta Persei? They have astrologers, but they have the inversion of astrologers because they have to be inside the cult. And so the minute you recruit, that's why I don't consent, because the minute they recruit somebody, they're already the inversion of knowledge. So it's like recruiting a person like me with the way that these things work today, it would be completely futile because I would become the inversion of who I am. And then you would get the inversion of knowledge. Okay? Then then it's useless. Like I know that some were planning on that, but that is useless, okay? That's why Itamar did not want me to do astrology. They wanted to get Israel to pay Shilumim for basically what NAFO is doing. When are the Shilumim for the military operation? That's something that the global government will have to deal with that. Okay, everybody wants Shilumim. So you're the new guys in charge. Good morning. There is a saying called breaking the pig. There was actually a short story by, I think it was Edgar Keret, called To Break the Pig. And the pig is kind of like, it's where you put the money. And then you break it and then you get the money, okay? So it's like, new world government, good morning, breaking the pig, pay Shilumim to everybody. That's why I'm saying, I was building on a canoe when... Everybody talking this big giant wealth. There's this new world coming. Yeah, darling, either it's going to be a WHO nightmare where you won't get to see the light of day and not in a favorable way. For the other, and the thinking of there's going to be a splitting of the world, darling. I do not take care of my toenail fungi and have half of, and then coinciding with removing a half of Gaza and finding they have a fungal soil, a toxic fungal soil there, that anyway the people would die. It's true. It would just have toxicity, and then of course they would, blame it on Israel. God forbid, not on how they treat women and children before the Israeli occupation. You see, Bedouin tribes, those are the people that were left, right? The Palestinians, they didn't have. And you see how they treat the women and children, and you understand the place became a desert in less than 100 years. Yes, that's what I said. Okay? Then you have this ritual sacrifice coming from the conjoining of the, I don't know, for everybody, like the entire cult, okay, the global cult, the Templars, I don't know, that are connected with the Vatican. Okay, that WikiLeaks documented, fuck that. They all cut dividends to the Vatican. So yeah, that's the thing. And that's how I woke up And so for those who think that they will have a beautiful life above when below is horrid, then that's the part where your occult teaching were not wrong, is above so below. It looks like a toenail fungi is an aesthetic issue until you understand how fungi work. They work on your nervous system. And how you get something to be fungal trauma and dissociation. So yeah. Which reminds me to put on some oil on my Just Do It, on my fire element. I got the pinky of channeling way better. The one of relation way better. Okay, the second one. And then I get with the Just Do It. The fire element. What do we have here? It's eucalyptus. Some good space. Eucalyptus, drying the swamps. This is such a good antifungal change. Radiata is a softer one. The Smithy, they also help to release addiction. So mint oil, eucalyptus oil, the Smithy eucalyptus, okay? If you're in Amsterdam, there are these shops. I'm getting Hollandier, I'm sorry. I don't remember the name and I'm like Hollandier. So I don't have bank account in Netherlands, but if you can get some sort of, if the people that go and put some 50 euros at the shelters and stuff like that, of the winter shelters, bring with you a bottle of essential oil mint and a bottle of essential oil eucalyptus meaty, or just get the mint, and just hand it to people. Even if you hand it to one person, if they're battling addiction or they're battling anything, okay? Just hand them the bottle. They'll use it. So that's something you can do. And you know where wherever it is in your place, okay, wherever you are in the world, in Netherlands there is that web of places where they go to, like Macomb and the Clove. I don't remember, it's on my Instagram. So if you go for that places, you would see the homeless people, okay? And you see them entering in and out. It's next to Oranjekirk, they have one for the Macomb in the pipe. And you can just find the person, okay, you can give them, or if you see people in the central station, okay, it's not just the money or something like that, hand them a bottle of like a mint essential oil, like eucalyptus essential oil. They sniff it, just smell it, okay? It's not about, they don't tell them not to use that on the body and they loot it, so you smell it. It's for to smell or to put it on your clothes, okay? So that helps a lot with awareness and that addiction. If they cannot smell, the sense of smell is retrieved. Or if you're battling addiction, okay, try that. Try mint. Actually, those were oils that I was told not to use by the very same person who taught me aromatherapy, because mint is about awareness and okay, telling me that I need to loosen my boundaries, where actually curating from violence is the opposite, right? Yeah, they get people to do the inversion of also holistic medicine. It's not just conventional, right? Um, Essentially, the CNOs, like eucalyptus is good for people keeping space from you. Mint, it's like an Archangel Michael oil, so those would be good oils to give to people who are homeless. And but with the people that try to do snuff film or to film from here, film from there, or film from my phone, I know Edward Snowden said cover the people do astral projection. Like, how should I say it? I'm not supposed to cover myself. That's very simply put. I'm not supposed to take off my clothes, and I'm not supposed to take on my clothes. Okay, by anybody's demand. And you see, in the country, in a place, in a society where that is not respected, you know how that ends, right? As above, so below. You know how that ends. So it began with a 22, okay? And again, there's a reason why Peter spoke against the bigger battle, because if you get this one judge that he had to vouch for, you understand this is a one role in a web of things. And for Marengo process, they had a state witness that was a crown witness. Who would be the witness against a central globalized structure? I can hear somebody petering in the background. And then you write to somebody to say, are you doing a class lawsuit against the WHO? Yes. We the people.